So much to say. I'm mindful of the 10-minute rule. I will keep in mind that we all love Charlotte and all have our stories to tell about it. But I'd like to start with mine. It began on February the 3rd in 1996 when I was in Jerusalem, part of the St. John's University sabbatical program. And I had a very difficult flight with airlines being on strike, being rerouted all over the Middle East. Finally arrived at 2 a.m. The other students in the program had been there for 2 days before me. And I was downstairs trying to pry my eyes open because the gentleman who was the overseer of the program, Palumbos, had said to me the night before, when you get up tomorrow, check the bulletin board because there's a list of jobs that everybody in the program has to assume. It was later in the morning. And when I got to the bulletin board, there were just 2 slots open. Happily, one of them was as a cook. And as I wrote my name down on that list, I heard a voice behind me saying, "Oh my God." The only other slot was in the kitchen. And I turned around to see Charlotte Bruney. A little surprised, we introduced each other and she said, "I'm domestically challenged." And I said, "I'm not. We can work together." And so it began. Those 5 months in Jerusalem, traveling here, there, the holy sites, enjoying the company of so many of the younger members of the sabbatical group. We 4 senior members found ourselves bonding in newer and deeper ways. And I came to learn that she was presently unemployed, having served a term in the Archdiocese of Hartford. And I remember the exact spot. It was where Jesus said to Peter, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, said the real Palumbos. We went for a little walk away from that very famous location. And I said to her, we're looking for people in the Diocese of Rochester to assist in the leadership of parishes. Would you ever be interested? And that planted a seed that ultimately grew to the beautiful, beautiful relationship that Charlotte developed with so many, many people in our diocese. She had an uncanny ability, as you well know, to connect people, to put them in touch with their own faith stories, to help us recognize the depth of our own faith and the ability that we all have to build up the body of Christ. Every week she wrote her column called Charlotte's Web, named not just after the little spider cartoon story, but more profoundly the web of life in which she found herself and drew every one of us into, helping us to recognize our interconnections with each other, how one's need called forth another's gift. And in that giving and receiving, God was glorified. She wrote that column for 15 years in the Diocese of Rochester. And when she was unable to do that because of her illness, she started the Caring Bridge website, which as of this morning has had 33,656 visits. Some of you, I know, are in that number. She was not confined by space, as you well know. She could fill a room with her presence. the secret of that presence, that great gift, it was rooted in her faith and in her belief and in her love for all of us. She wanted with every fiber of her being for us to know that she was sent by God. And so were we. Each of us in our own way to bring life and love to our fractured and sometimes hurting world. She had a powerful way of connecting with people, empowering them and helping them to help others. And in doing that, she brought it all together. She was not confined by the boundaries of black and white, conservative and liberal, young and old, and whatever other false distinctions we might labor under. She transcended all those with the power of her love, the power of her faith that she had. And toward the end of her time at St. Vincent de Paul as the leader of that community, not surprisingly, she petitioned Bishop Clark for an unusual request, that she go on a sabbatical. She loves to travel, as you all know. One of her favorite lines was, "I would live out of a suitcase if I could." And the last 8 months she has. And that suitcase has traveled with her far and wide, as she's beheld with awe and inspiration the wonders of God's creation, starting with herself. On that sabbatical, there was a 30-day retreat that took place in Massachusetts, Spring Point Retreat House. And during that 30-day nature retreat, she had this powerful meditation that came from the gospel that she just asked for us to proclaim at today's liturgy. As Sister Joan said at the beginning, every detail of today has been worked out, as you know. And that is certainly because she didn't want us to have to fret about it, but also because she had a wonderful mind and heart and liturgical sense for pulling things together and doing them well. And during that retreat experience, she meditated one day for a few times upon the gospel. And I want to read to you why she chose this gospel. These are her own words, delivered, of course, to anyone would have any control over what happens to this. During my 38-day nation retreat, she writes, one of my meditation exercises was on the passage of Peter seeing Jesus walking on the water and asking him to follow him, to come and allow him to come to him over the water. I remember watching Peter from the boat, holding my breath as he jumped into the water and did not sink, until he let the voices inside his head tell him that he could not be doing this. I remember with great disappointment in Peter, and then I decided I wanted to do it. And I called out to Jesus from the boat, and he dared me to come to him, who radiated the brightness of the full moon, standing effortlessly on the surface of the inky black sea. I laughed at his dare, and the fact that he would tease me like that. So I climbed over the boat, landed softly on the surface of the water, erect and able to navigate without sinking a bit. Then I literally ran across the water, never once taking my eyes off of his. I kept that focus and kept running as the distance between us diminished. I ran into his arms and hugged him with my whole frame as he hugged me back. I had done it. I had done it. We come together today as Charlotte's family and friends to celebrate that she has done. You know, those of you who have ever called to talk with her and found her message, Rob mentioned it last night in the homily after a week ago. Charlotte would answer the phone on recording and say, God, please be patient with me. God isn't finished with me yet. You will not be surprised to see in a few days that upon her tombstone she has had inscribed, God is finally finished with me. See you in heaven. Her whole life is kind of like Mary at the wedding of Cana, saying to the waiters who were about to witness Jesus' first miracle, do whatever he tells you. I am certain that is what she would say to us today. Do whatever he tells you. I am glad you are here to celebrate my life. But now, go and do what he tells you. One of the entries on the Caring Bridge to which you can make a response, two of the people reflected how fitting that Charlotte has gone home to God on the Epiphany. She probably hitched a ride on one of the camels. And with the wise men of the East who traveled great distance, she is a seeker of truth herself and has gone to see the babe of Bethlehem, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. She would say to us, do whatever